There were other fruits we were able to see on a much deeper level that just as powerful as our own lives had been affected by our parents. The life of our children were being influenced and shaped by us, often in ways we didn't even begin to realize. Understanding the power of scripting in our own life, we felt a renewed desire to do everything we could to make certain that what we passed on to future generations by both percept and example was based on correct principles. I have drawn particular attention in this book to those scripts we have been given which we proactively want to change, but as we examined our scripting carefully, many of us will also begin to see beautiful scripts, positive scripts that have been passed down to us, which we have blindly taken for granted. Real self awareness help us to appreciate it, those scripts, and to appreciate those who have gone before us and nurture us in principles based living, mirroring back to us not only what we are, but what we can become. There is transcendent power in a strong intergenerational family, an effectively interdependent family of children, parents, grandparents, aunt, uncle, cousins can be a powerful force in helping people have a sense of who they are and where they came from and what they stand for. It's a great for children to be able to identify themselves with the tribe, to feel that many people know them and care about them, even though they spread all over the country, and that can be a tremendous benefit as you nurture your family. If one of your children is having difficulty and doesn't really relate with you at a particular time in his life, maybe he can relate to your brother or sister who can become a surrogate father or mother or member or a hero for a period of time. Grandparents who show great interest in their grandchildren are among the most precious people on this earth. What a marvelous positive social mirror they can be. My mother is like that. Even now in her late 80s, she take a deep personal interest in every one of her descendants. She write us love letter. I was reading one the other day on a plane with tears streaming down my cheeks. I and how wonderful I think you are. She constantly reaffirming a strong intergenerational family is potential one of the most fruitful, rewarding, and satisfying interdependent relationship, and many people feel the importance of that relationship. Look at the fascination we all had with roots some years ago. Each of us has roots and ability to trace those roots to identify our ancestors. The highest and most powerful motivation in doing that is not for ourselves only, but for our posterity, for the posterity of all mankind. As someone once observed, there are only two lasting bequests we can give our children, one is root, the other ring. Becoming a transition person. Among other things, I believe that giving wings to our children and to other means empowering them with the freedom to raise above negative scripting that has been passed down to us. I believe it I believe it means becoming what my friends and associate Dr. Terry Warner calls a transition person. Instead of transferring these scripts to the next generation, we can change them. And we can do it in a way that will build a relationship in the process. If your parents abuse you as a child, that does not mean that you have to abuse your own children. Yet there are plenty of evidence to indicate that you will tend to live out that script. But because you are proactive, you can rewrite the script. You can choose not only not to abuse your children but to affirm them, to script them in positive ways. You can write it in your personal mission statement and into your mind and heart. You can visualize yourself living in harmony with that mission statement in your daily private victory. You can take steps to love and forgive your own parents, and if they are still living, to build a positive relationship with them by seeking to understand. A tendency that run through your family for generation can stop with you. You are a transition person, a link between the past and the future, and your own change can affect many lives downstream. Once powerful transition person of the 20th century, Anwar Sadat led us as part of his legacy a profound understanding of nature of change. Sadat stood between a past that had created a huge wall of suspicion, fear, hate, and misunderstanding between Arabs and Israel, and a future in which increased conflict and isolation seems inevitable. Efforts at negotiation had been met with objection on every scales, even to formalities and procedurals point to an insignificant comma or period in the text of proposed agreement, while others attempts to resolve the tense situation by hacking at the leaves. Sada drew upon his earlier centering experience in a lonely prison cell and went to work on the road, and in doing so, he changed the course of history for millions of people. He recorded in his autobiography, "It was then that I drew almost unconscious on the inner strength I had developed in cell 54 of Cairo Central Prison, a strength, call it a talent or capacity for change. I found that I faced a highly complex situation and that I couldn't hope to change it until I had armed myself with the necessary psychology and intellectual capacity. My contemplation of life and human nature in that secluded place had taught me that he who cannot change the very fabric of his thought will never be able to change reality and will never therefore make any progress. Real change comes from the inside out. It doesn't come from hacking at the leaves of attitude and behavior with quick fix personality ethics techniques. It comes from striking at the root, the fabric of our thoughts, the fundamental essentials paradigms which give definition to our character and create the lens through which we see the world. In the words of Amiel, moral truth can be conceived in thoughts, one can have feeling about it, one can will to live it, but moral truth may have been penetrated and possessed in all these ways and escape us still deeper even than consciousness. There is our being itself, our very substance, our nature. Only those truths which have entered into the lost region, which have become ourselves, become spontaneous and involuntary as well as voluntarily, unconscious as well as conscious, are really our life. That is to say, something more than property, so long as we are able to distinguish any space, whatever, between truth and us, we are remain outside in the thought, the feeling, the desire, or the consciousness of life may not be quite life. To become divine is then the aim of life, then only can truth be said to be ours beyond the possibility of loss. It is no longer outside us, nor in a sense even in us, but we are it, and it is we. Achieving unity, oneness with ourselves, with our loved ones, with our friends and working associate is the highest and best and most delicious fruit of the seven habit. Most of us have tasted this fruit of true unity from time to time in the past, as we have also tasted the bitter, lonely fruit of disunity, and we know how precious and fragile unity is. Obviously, building character of total integrity and living the life of love and service that creates such unity isn't easy. It isn't quick fix, but it's possible. It begins with the desire to center our lives on correct principles, to break out of the paradigm created by other centers and comfort zones of unworthy habits. Sometimes we make mistakes, we feel awkward, but we started with the daily private victory and work from the inside out. The result will surely come as we plant the seed and patiently weed and nourish it. We begin to feel the excitement of real growth and eventually taste the incomparable, delicious fruit of a congruent, effective life. Again, I quote Emerson, that which we persist in doing becomes easier. Not that the nature of the task has changed, but our ability to do has increased. By centering our life on correct principles and creating a balanced focus between doing and increasing our ability to do, we become empowered in the task of creating effective, useful, and peaceful life for ourselves and for our posterity. A personal note: as I conclude this book, I would like to share my own personal conviction concerning what I believe to be the source of correct principles. I believe that correct principles are natural laws, and that God, the Creator, the Father of us all, is the source of them and also the source of our conscience. I believe that to the degree people live by this inspired conscience, they will grow to fulfill their nature. To the degree that they do not, they will not raise above the animal plane. I believe that there are parts to human nature that cannot be reached by either legislation or education, by require the power of God to deal with. I believe that as beings, we cannot perfect ourselves to the degree to which we align ourselves that correct principles divine endowment will be released within our nature in enabling us to fulfill the measure of our creation. In the words of Teilhard de Chardin, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I personally struggle with much of what I have shared in this book. But the struggle is worthwhile and fulfilling. It gives meaning to my life and enable me to love, to serve, and to try again. Again, T.S. Eliot expressed so beautifully my own personal discovery and conviction. We must not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we begin and to know the place for the first time.